Welcome back to another Kicking Tables. Today we'd like to welcome Mark Stockton-Pitt, the co-creator of Die of the Dead. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hi, fantastic. Thank you for having me.
So why don't we start right there with the game? Tell us what is Die of the Dead and give us a brief overview of how you play this game.
Okay, fantastic. So Die of the Dead is, as it sounds, a dice game about Dia de Muertos. Originally, I saw, I'm the co-designer, I saw the original designer, James, play test it some time ago, and he had these caskets, not quite like these, but all he had were these caskets, and people were just drawn to the table. They really wanted to see what he was playing, and so I got chatting with him, wanted to see what the game was about. It's very easy to get people to play test it because it looks so good. And it was just this really fun game about rolling dice in caskets, and just trying to, it was some memory, some luck, obviously with the dice, and just some really original ideas, like a little casket conveyor belt, I think is what he sold it to me as, to begin with. So I talked to him. He originally pitched it to some publishers, and they all said that because it comes with these caskets, and they're just going to hold another one up,
Sure.
just in case you haven't seen them, because they are absolutely stunning. And they said that actually things like this wouldn't be economically feasible. And I thought, well, actually, let's investigate that. And it turned out that actually it is. It is. I think if you go the Kickstarter route, it is economically feasible to make a game with components like this and still sell it at a good price.
Well, it's not just the caskets too, but you've got like a staircase, which is actually part of that's the whole point of the game, is to get the souls back to the land of the living through the steps. And so you've created an actual steps that you build in the game.
Got these here.
That is absolutely gorgeous.
Little prototype here. This actually came about, I was discussing it with some colleagues actually. We'd been playtesting the game, and we're saying we got the idea of the dice, you're trying to race them back to the land of the living, and we were putting them down just on a flat piece of paper, and we realised that actually it's difficult to see when one dice is down. It's difficult to see behind it what that is, and so we tried to come up with a way where that wasn't an issue. And so these steps, again, just hold them up so you can see. That's what they look like if you're sitting far away. If you're sitting close, you've got the same thing, so hopefully I can do that. And I'm pretty good with card crafting, I'd say. So I just, over a couple of evenings, knocked them up. There we are, come apart to lie flat in the box, and it's all just punch board. No glue, no tape, nothing like that. Just punch board. So yeah, very proud of those.
That's fantastic. What was the inspiration behind this theme and this game itself?
So. Obviously, Dia de Muertos, I think it's such a good theme. And when I first saw the game, I was actually related it back to Grim Fandango.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I was thinking, there's actually not that many games based on that theme, but it's such a good theme. It's so colourful. It's so vibrant. And so I was talking to James about it. And we agreed that one thing we insisted upon was really trying to, well, we wanted a cultural consultant to stay away from any cultural misappropriation, anything like that. So actually managed to hire somebody who did a lot of Mexican folklore to help talk to me about Dia de Muertos and the things that we could use in there. We also got a Mexican artist, and it really made the game come together. So rather than, just rolling dice, I mean, there's still some abstract in it, with obviously it's going to be, but the things we've got, Papel Picado boards, again, I'm just holding up all the components here, and we've got marigolds, the bread of the dead, loads of other stuff, to try and take something that maybe could have been a surface level theme in lots of games and really embed it and try and make the game richer as a result.
Yeah. So tell us about that process. So when you decided you were making this, like obviously, yeah, making sure that you're representing the culture properly. Mm-hmm. That's not something that you see a lot of times. It's like, oh, we're just going to grab whatever art we can and just sort of do that. Tell us about how that process was, what the discussion was about, figuring out how to best represent that. Like, I think it's really cool that, you're taking that, taking a game and really making sure it represents that culture properly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, the first thing I did was went out to actually get some books because I thought I want to do a bit of research myself. And I love Wikipedia, but you can't always believe there's some high-profile incidents on there. So I thought let's actually try and use some old-fashioned research here. And then it was a case of thinking, it's really looking online and just seeing because there are lots of people selling lots of assistance services. And like I say, I found somebody who they're Mexican and they were telling tales, investigating folklore. And I approached them and just said, would you mind, I'm making a game based on Dia de Muertos, would you mind being a cultural consultant? So telling me if things are inappropriate, if I'm using things incorrectly, or if I'm just being plain wrong, and actually that's got nothing to do with the celebration. And they did that. Then they came back to me and said, have you thought about using this? What about using, and they told me about the Bread of the Dead. And when I talked to the artist as well afterwards, they were like, Oliver, yeah, of course. That's definitely something we should include. And Papo Picado was a new one to me because we were looking for something to make the boards on the table look different, not just a load of text. Obviously, we wanted the graphic design to meld, and they said, "Yeah, Pablo Picado," and it's one of those things that I never heard of it, but since then, every time I've looked up these pictures of Dia de Muertos, just see it everywhere, and I think, yeah, exactly. So it's almost, I don't know, with games like this or any game that involves any kind of cultural history, I do think if you can almost teach people about it at the same time, and I'm not saying I'm the steps to say, oh, I'm going to teach loads of things, but just maybe making people aware of things makes it a richer experience.
So you took this not just from the artist point of view, but the components in the game and how the game is played and the words you're using. You wanted to make sure all of that worked together to truly represent Day of the Dead.
Absolutely, and I think hopefully we've done a pretty good job. I definitely think it's something we've done. We've definitely got a lot of praise from people who know the Day of the Dead and have said that there's a lot of things here that you just don't see in board games. I'm not just talking mechanically, obviously, but talking about the items we're using. So I think it's worked really well.
Yeah, I was. What drew me to this game originally was like actually seeing the little coffins and the artwork and everything like that. I'm a huge fan of the Day of the Dead visuals. When you were looking at that, was there any thought to maybe doing any sort of custom dye with it? Because I know your dye are sort of not necessarily generic, but the colors. I would love to have seen some like pastel colors to sort of tie into the artwork for the game.
Because with the dice, we wanted to have standout colours because each player has their own coloured dice. Yeah. We were thinking about colourblind players at that point, so we had to have white and black. I think that they're the really key ones. Yeah. And then we were talking to some people, so we went for bold colours for that reason, for accessibility reasons, really. We do actually have, so I'm just going to grab a dice over here. We do actually have some custom dice. If I hold that. There we are.
Oh, nice, yes.
Oh, the little sugar skull right on there.
Exactly. So, because I was thinking, if you're having a dice game, you've got to have some custom dice in there. That's almost a gimme. So, I did want to get some custom dice. One thing that actually did come out, some of the colours that we've used for the boards, we are actually probably going to change during the Kickstarter. It's one of those things that we used them in the playtesting, and they kind of just held. But then some reviewers have said, actually, they could. Maybe we can change those up. So that's definitely something that I want to do. And I thought actually something we can get the Kickstarter backers involved in, because it is just a palette swap at that point. So it won't change any playtest or anything like that. It's something that people can actually say, go for those colours.
How many players is this game built for?
2 to 5.
2 to 5. Now, does the gameplay change at all when you start adding more players? 2 players versus 3, 4, or 5 players? Is there a...
So 3, 4, and 5 are the same. 2 players can be played with the same rules, but I think it loses some of the... I'll say chaos, actually, because that's how I described it earlier. It's some of the randomness. With 2 players, it can be quite, okay, I know what you've done, so this is what I'm going to do, without having that third wheel in there just to change things up a bit.
Right.
So you can play it like that, but I've also, I play tested a lot with 2 players, because obviously with the current situation, that's the people that you have.
Yep.
And what I found is actually we introduce a third, I've called them the ghost player.
Okay.
It's just very simple. Each round you move one of the dice, and it's a very small thing, but it does help keep that. I think to me it's that joyous feeling of just something coming in and maybe changing your plans, not wrecking them completely, but changing them a little bit, so you've got to think on the fly. But other than that, like I say, 3, 4, 5 plays, the rules are the same.
Right. So it's more ideal with 3 or more players, but there is a 2-player variant.
Yeah, well, I enjoy it with, like I said, I played it a lot with 2 players, and I've enjoyed it every time.
Yeah.
But it is a slight rules tweak, just to keep. Basically, if I wanted it to feel like you're playing with 3 players, because that's the most fun. So there's a small tweak to keep that feel.
During the development of this and the playtesting, what was the most difficult part to get right in this? And are you still tweaking the game as you approach Kickstarter, or is everything ready to go now?
We're ready to go now. The most difficult part for me was getting people to... So there's 4 caskets, and on a player's turn they choose a casket. And players could understand why they choose casket 1. It gets your dice into the caskets. Casket 2 helps make that process more efficient. Casket 4 actually gets them onto the staircase to win. So the difficult thing was actually, what should casket 3 be? Because we definitely needed the 4 there. And casket 3 is almost like a spoiler casket. It's what we came up with, because we tried lots of different things. And the thing that really stuck was saying, if somebody... Because it is about it's getting your dice into the caskets. The more dice you have in a casket, the more likely you are to win the roll. And we wanted something to stop people just putting loads of dice into a casket. And so casket 3 is pretty much the spoiler casket, that if someone's got loads of dice in there, those dice getting kicked out. So that came together really well. It's really nice. But then it's one of those situations where when you're teaching a game to someone, you say, this is the casket. If someone looks like they're about to win, you use this so they don't win. And people are like, that's a bit mean. So it's one of those. It's one of those. No, you will need to use this casket. But that was a sticking point for a long time. Just that third casket was a sticking point. But we got.
So can we just dive in just real quickly about how the caskets work? Because really that's a big portion of the game. And you're putting, so each player is choosing a casket to put their dice in.
Yeah, so on a player's turn, there are 4 caskets on the table. The 4 that, I mean, they all look like this with different colours. And essentially, the dice will go in the first casket. The caskets move. It's got a little conveyor belt action where number 1 goes to 2, 2 goes to 3, and so on, and 4 comes back to 1. If you choose casket 1, you put your dice in, and if you choose casket 4, they go on the steps, and the first player to get all their dice on the steps wins. And also some of the caskets mean that they move. They actually activate that conveyor belt system. So on a player's turn, they just choose 1 casket. They do what it says, so maybe they put the dice in, maybe they prepare their dice to make it more efficient, and so on.
So each casket has a very specific rule to it.
Exactly.
Or position. So the position of the casket has a rule. Yeah.
Exactly that.
Okay.
There will be, like I say, the currently working on a how to play video, as well as I've got the rules, so that should all be on the Kickstarter. So hopefully it'll make sense there.
It's such a unique gameplay. The art style is absolutely gorgeous. I think you've got a winner here. This comes out August 25th, coming up very, very soon. You must be excited to finally get this to Kickstarter.
Oh, I am. We planned to launch earlier in the year. I think like a lot of Kickstarters did, and obviously with everything that's happened, it's just been the main issue for me was actually getting all the prototype manufacturing plants seem to just close down. So all these caskets were all handcrafted by me, as well as the steps and everything else. So
that's awesome.
That's been a bit of an ordeal. I'm glad it's really I'm really glad it's going to come out soon. So glad.
So before we let you go, Mark, what is your favorite single thing about this game? What really sticks out to you? Even though you're a co-creator, there's got to be something about the game that you just absolutely love.
I really like shaking the caskets. It's really tactile, really pleasurable. You can give them as much of a shake as you want. They fit in the hand. I'm really proud. I'm proud of all of it.
Yeah.
But just this design, they're beautiful. They're great to pick up. Just really nice feeling to it. I think it's something that everyone enjoys doing.
And that's what really stands out about this game is the caskets and the staircase. It's just, as soon as you see that and you see the artwork, you're like, what is this? I need to know more. And everyone can find out more August 25th on Kickstarter. Get there, back it. Mark, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure. I've had someone ask me on Instagram if they can buy the caskets to put jewelry in. And I said, well, you can buy the game, keep the caskets, just throw everything else away. That's fine by me.